Can a country default on its debt obligation? Now, I want to look at this from the broader perspective of treasury bills and bonds and other securities that countries float to the market, local and international, for others to offtake. Now, yes is the answer. In certain particular unique situations, a country can actually default. Within the greater Eastern African region, Ethiopia in 2023 failed to honor a coupon obligation of 33 million US dollars against its $1 billion euro bond, which it floated into the market a couple of years back. Now, today, the good news is that the country has met the different creditors, the people, the investors who put money in this Eurobond to agree on the way forward. We'll be delving into that discussion in our subsequent shows. It is Man and Markets. As usual, I'm Charles Boyd, your host. Welcome. Before gold, tourism was Uganda's leading forex earner for Uganda. Now, today, yes, it is still a good sector and indeed raking in several hundreds of millions of dollars for this country or economy and supporting a very broad ecosystem of value chain, if you may. Now, today, however, Uganda is yet to fully optimize the potential of this sector. And we're looking at where the roadblocks are and what can be done to overcome or to deal with those challenges for the sector.
As a person coming from the business industry, more recently I've worked in the agro-industrialization sector. I've worked in fast-moving goods, fast-moving consumer goods. More recently I'm in tourism. And the movement or the freedom of movement within Africa can truly benefit from the exclusion of this visa process that seems to be a source of revenue for so many states. I believe that the business that is generated through some of the visitors, whether they've come to do business, whether they're here for conferences or events within Africa, whether they're here as tourists, that money is plowed back into the economy. We still realize it in GDP without compromising the movement of these individuals. So tagging $30, $70 here or there for individuals who are coming to generate business that's in tens or hundreds of thousands of US dollars, for me is counterproductive. It's actually counterproductive. And at least if the visa process was smooth sailing, we found that a lot of the visa sites are compromised. So in the worst case, you find visitors who pay for the visa and it's never registered, so they still get stranded at airports. The queues for paying for visas on landing, which is supposed to be an even easier, it's supposed to be an easier access route, paying at the airport. But the queues there, sometimes the connectivity to make electronic payments. So you find that our visitors, our business community, they're being inconvenienced at the airport. Sometimes the delay can go as long as 45 minutes, an hour, time which could have been plowed back into business in the economy. So as a business traveler, you find yourself having to take 24 hours out of your travel time just to deal with the modalities of processing your visa, getting through immigration, etc. 24 hours that could have been registered in business meetings, in business engagements, B2B, B2G. So I believe that if we start to work on removing the barriers to entry, if we start to focus our efforts on realizing a borderless Africa, trade, tourism, minerals, oil, gas, agriculture will all benefit from a borderless Africa. Indeed, a borderless East Africa is the dream, was the ultimate goal that would free up East Africa and countries within the region to optimally trade and to optimally exploit tourism as a sector. We've seen examples from other blocs that have been formed globally. What comes to mind is the European Union, for example, and the free movement within that space, which has put, I think, given the advantage to some of those blocs ahead of ours. So sooner rather than later, we must find a way to make East Africa borderless. And we started to take the steps. For example, you can move freely with some states within East Africa with your national ID. So at least that removes the issue of stamping your passport for every entry in and out of the East African states. For some of the East African states, we are yet to make the traction in all states, but that is indeed the dream, that at least an ID should be able to register your movement freely across the East African borders. To the point of immigration status, etc. Other blocs have managed to do it at the expense, without compromising, obviously, without compromising security, without compromising the usual immigration procedures. I truly believe there is a way that we can find East Africans moving from state to state without necessarily having the same amount of delays as a non-East African. So a fast-track process, or fast-track queue, is absolutely critical for business persons and people in tourism as well. So visitors within the East African states should take precedence over other regions because of the East African community, as it were, that we've set up. The real power of the East African community will start to be harnessed when we start to move across each other's borders as freely as you see other blocs doing, European Union, the Americas, and some other other states in the world. So, to your point, do we believe that it's necessary? It's not just necessary, it's critical. It will be the deciding factor, I think, between us achieving our 2040 goals as East African states or not achieving them at all. So once we have a borderless East Africa, it will start to pave the way, I believe, for a borderless Africa.
The Workers' Fund in Uganda, NSSF, released fairly good and flowery figures of late when they were releasing the books of accounts for the financial year 2024-2025. Now, we try to look at what were the push factors or the reasons behind this fairly stellar performance. Take a look.
Look at the money. This is basically, if you look at income that we generate over the years, sometimes it's a yo-yo. I remember that animal I mentioned, FX, it hit us in 2022 because the Uganda shilling strengthened so much against the Kenya shilling. And that revaluation brought us down, but we recovered. By 2024, by last year, we had already recovered 3.5 trillion shillings that we raised. Okay, this is where, and I think if you noticed a bit, so from interest, we earned 2.88 trillion shillings from all countries. Our real estate income increased to 16.6 billion shillings. Dividends that we got 238 billion shillings from 175 billion. The purchase of MTN was amazingly good for the fund. Airtel was good for the fund because from MTN alone we got about 61 billion shillings in dividends. I think Airtel we got around 38 billion shillings in dividends. So investing on behalf of Ugandans and holding these shares on behalf of Ugandans has actually been good for the country and for the member. As a country for the last 20-25 years, we've done something really good, but it was half a solution. Think about NADS. NADS said, oh, the farmer needs quality seeds, good. Needs post-harvest handling, good. Needs affordable housing, financing, good. Needs all these things that the farmer needs, and the government invested in these things. OWC came the same proposition, PDM came the same proposition. But guess what was happening? Even it happened just this month. Farmers are harvesting maize today, and they're asking where they're going to sell that maize, and we don't have an answer for them. that has become very demotivating for farmers, because the guy who should put fertilizers in his garden, his 1 acre, to get 2,000 kilograms of maize, says, who is going to buy this thing? So he doesn't bother, and his product is 400. We think through NAMCO will help bridge the gap between the farmer and the market. And in the process, when he makes a little more money, he will save with us. So let me give you the numbers. Let's say the core price of maize, and that's the real price, because somebody quoted my price yesterday. Let's say somebody is buying maize at 800 shillings a kilo, and the acre produced 500 kilograms. That means that farmer, 500 times 400 kilograms, 500 times 800 is basically 400,000. So the farmer is getting 400,000 shillings from his 1 acre. If he raises productivity and he knows there's a guaranteed market, and he produces 2,000 kilograms at 800, that's 1.6 million shillings. I just helped that farmer move from earning 800,000 to 1.6 million shillings in that very season. Now, if I tell my friend, just save 10% for an account, he's not going to kill me, because, okay, I brought value to him. And we need to do this. Now, the only things I'm going to say, as we roll out this program, because we're going to be rolling it out the next few months, fellow Ugandans, at that point, we are beginning to play in the global market directly. And there are things that market requires. So I'm going to appeal to us Ugandans. There are things that market requires. It requires discipline, consistency, and integrity. So if I come and sign with the farmer, willing signer, please, we'll buy all the maize you can produce, this is the price, and you begin to produce, and you decide to sell. That doesn't work in the global market, because you've broken one thing, trust. The market won't trust you anymore if you do that. And I think if we organize this thing, the small farmer, the one person with 1 acre and so on, and we aggregate it together, we'll go back to where we were one time in cotton. We had half acre, quarter acre of cotton aggregated. Uganda was the number 2 producer of cotton in the world. One of the best cotton varieties in the world was there, because there was a systematic way of aggregating it and sending it to the market. I'm really excited about this, because I think if we do this well as a country, I can tell you we can triple Uganda's GDP in 5 years.
Of course, we put in place governance frameworks. There are rules and regulations on what can be done and what can't be done. But more than leveraging the rules in terms of getting people doing the right thing, the wrong thing, we try to create the environment where everybody finds it intrinsic in themselves to do the right thing every time, whether the line manager is there or not, because they value what they do, they value the impact that they create in the country, and everybody feels good doing good stuff. So that's what we emphasize on. When MD was talking about 95% employee engagement, the summary of it all is people want to feel good about what they are doing, not just because of what they get, but because they feel as an organization they are looked at it holistically. So I can tell you, I think without fear of contradiction, that 99% of our staff commit to do the right things every single day.